What is the meaning of life? It's a question that has puzzled humanity for millennia, inspiring countless debates, theories, and reflections. But can we truly uncover the meaning of life, or is it destined to remain a mystery? Join us as we explore various philosophical perspectives on this timeless question. To understand the meaning of life, it's essential to start with the great thinkers of ancient philosophy. The ancient Greeks were among the first to systematically explore this question. For them, the meaning of life was deeply tied to the pursuit of wisdom, virtue, and the understanding of one's place in the cosmos. Socrates, often considered the father of Western philosophy, believed that the unexamined life is not worth living. For Socrates, the purpose of life was to seek knowledge and truth through constant questioning and self-reflection. He argued that by understanding ourselves and our place in the world, we could live a life of virtue and fulfillment. Plato, a student of Socrates, took these ideas further. In his famous allegory of the cave, Plato suggested that most people live in a state of ignorance, only seeing shadows of reality. The true meaning of life, according to Plato, lies in escaping this ignorance and ascending to the realm of the forms, an abstract world of perfect, eternal truths. For Plato, the ultimate goal was to align oneself with these higher truths and achieve a state of harmony with the cosmos. Aristotle, Plato's student, offered a more grounded approach. He believed that the meaning of life is found in eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or happiness. Aristotle argued that we achieve eudaimonia through the cultivation of virtue, fulfilling our potential as rational beings. For Aristotle, the good life was one of balance, where reason guides our actions and we live in accordance with our true nature. As we move from ancient Greece to the broader world, we find that the question of life's meaning is central to many religious traditions. For many, the meaning of life is not just a philosophical question, but a spiritual one, intertwined with the belief in a higher power or divine order. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, the meaning of life is often understood in terms of fulfilling God's will. The Bible teaches that humans are created in the image of God and that our purpose is to love and serve Him. The ultimate goal is to attain eternal life with God, transcending the physical world. Buddhism offers a different perspective. The Buddha taught that life is filled with suffering, and the meaning of life is to end this suffering through the attainment of nirvana, a state of liberation from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. This is achieved by following the Eightfold Path, a guide to ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. Hinduism also speaks to the idea of liberation, but within the framework of reincarnation. The meaning of life, according to Hindu thought, is to achieve moksha, freedom from the cycle of samsara, the endless cycle of birth and rebirth. This is accomplished by realizing one's unity with Brahman, the ultimate reality, and by living in accordance with Dharma, or cosmic law. In Islam, the meaning of life is closely tied to submission to the will of Allah. The Quran teaches that humans are created to worship Allah and to follow the guidance He has provided through the prophets. Life is a test, and the ultimate purpose is to achieve a state of peace and harmony with God, both in this life and the hereafter. As we move into the modern era, the question of life's meaning takes on a new urgency, particularly with the rise of existentialism in the 20th century. Existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Simone de Beauvoir argued that life has no inherent meaning, at least not one that is given to us. Jean-Paul Sartre famously declared that existence precedes essence, meaning that we are not born with a predetermined purpose. Instead, we are free to create our own meaning through our choices and actions. However, with this freedom comes a heavy burden of responsibility, as we must live with the consequences of our choices. Albert Camus introduced the concept of the absurd, the conflict between our desire to find meaning in a chaotic and indifferent universe. Camus suggested that in the face of the absurd, we have three options: escape through religion or fantasy, succumb to despair, or embrace the absurd and live with it. Camus advocated for the third option, seeing life as an opportunity to rebel against the absurd and create meaning through our actions. Simone de Beauvoir, a key figure in existentialist thought, emphasized the role of freedom and responsibility in defining ourselves. She argued that meaning is not something we discover, but something we actively create, particularly in our relationships with others. De Beauvoir also highlighted the importance of recognizing the freedom of others, which ties into her broader feminist philosophy. For existentialists, the meaning of life is not something given, but something made. It's about finding authenticity in our actions and embracing the freedom and responsibility that come with being human. While existentialism emphasizes the creation of meaning, nihilism takes a more pessimistic approach. Nihilists argue that life is inherently meaningless, and any search for meaning is ultimately futile. Friedrich Nietzsche is often associated with nihilism, though his philosophy is more complex. Nietzsche famously declared that God is dead, reflecting the collapse of traditional values and the resulting sense of meaninglessness. However, Nietzsche saw this as an opportunity for individuals to create their own values and live according to their own principles, a concept he called the will to power. For some, the realization that life has no inherent meaning leads to despair. This is often referred to as existential nihilism, the belief that life is without objective meaning, purpose, or intrinsic value. But even within nihilism, there is a spectrum. Some nihilists embrace this lack of meaning as a form of liberation, freeing themselves from the constraints of traditional values and expectations. Nihilism challenges us to confront the void and decide how to live in a world where meaning is not given. Whether this leads to despair, liberation, or something else entirely depends on one's perspective. In contrast to the bleak outlook of nihilism, humanism offers a more optimistic perspective. Humanism is the belief that humans have the capacity and responsibility to give their own lives meaning, often through connection with others and the pursuit of knowledge, art, and ethical living. Rooted in the Renaissance and Enlightenment, humanism places a high value on reason, empathy, and the inherent dignity of every individual. Humanists argue that life's meaning is found in our relationships, our contributions to society, and our quest for understanding and improving the human condition. Modern humanism often emphasizes the importance of living a life that is fulfilling not just for oneself, but for others. It's about making a positive impact in the world, whether through social justice, scientific advancement, or the creation of beauty and meaning in art and culture. Humanism encourages us to find meaning in our shared humanity. In a world that can often seem chaotic and fragmented, humanism reminds us of our ability to create meaning through compassion, collaboration, and the pursuit of a better future. In today's globalized world, the question of life's meaning is more complex than ever. With so many different cultures, beliefs, and philosophies, is it possible to find a universal meaning of life? Or is meaning something that is inherently personal and subjective? Contemporary philosophers often debate whether a single universal meaning of life exists, or whether meaning is something we create individually. Some argue that while there may be no universal purpose, the search for meaning is a deeply human endeavor that can unite us in our shared experiences of love, suffering, joy, and loss. Others suggest that meaning is inherently tied to our cultural and personal contexts. What gives life meaning for one person may not resonate with another, and that's okay. In this view, the diversity of beliefs and experiences is something to be celebrated, not resolved into a single answer. In a world shaped by rapid technological advances, social change, and global challenges, the question of life's meaning is more relevant than ever. Whether we find meaning in religion, philosophy, science, or human connection, the journey of seeking it is a fundamental part of what it means to be human. So, what is the meaning of life? As we've seen, there are many answers to this question, and perhaps the most important lesson is that the search for meaning is a deeply personal journey. Whether through philosophy, religion, human connection, or personal reflection, each of us must find our own path to understanding our place in the universe. Ultimately, the meaning of life may not be a single, universal truth, but rather a mosaic of experiences, beliefs, and insights that we piece together throughout our lives. The journey itself, with all its challenges and revelations, may be where the true meaning lies. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of life's greatest mystery. Until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and keep reading.